If age alone destroyed buildings, medieval houses would have vanished centuries ago. Yet across Europe, timber-framed halls, barns, bridges and homes still stand in damp valleys, coastal winds and freezing winters. These structures did not survive because medieval builders had better wood. They survived because those builders understood rot at a fundamental level. Their anti-rot trick was not a single product or coating. It was a system rooted in timing, treatment and respect for how wood behaves in nature. Rot begins long before rain touches the beam. Modern construction treats rot as a moisture problem. Medieval builders knew it was a biological one. Fresh timber contains sugars, starches and sap that fungi and bacteria consume. When moisture arrives later, decay accelerates because food is already present. The medieval solution was simple and devastatingly effective. Remove the food before construction begins. Once the nutrients are gone, moisture alone cannot cause rot. The timing of the cut was the first line of defence. Medieval timber was felled in winter when sap levels were lowest. Cold temperatures slowed microbial activity and reduced internal moisture. Trees cut during dormancy contained fewer sugars and less free water, making them far less attractive to decay organisms. This practice alone extended timber life by decades. A practical modern application is harvesting or purchasing wood cut in colder seasons and avoiding fresh green lumber for exposed structures. Water curing quietly transformed vulnerable wood into durable material. One of the most overlooked medieval practices was water curing. Logs were submerged in rivers, ponds or tidal waters for weeks or months. This process actually leached sugars and starches out of the wood, while cold water prevented fungal growth. Salt water added further resistance by discouraging microbes and insects. Once removed, the wood was dried slowly under cover. The result was timber that could repeatedly absorb and release moisture without feeding rot. Interestingly, this method is still usable today. Untreated logs or beams can be submerged in clean water, then air-dried with strong airflow and shade. Even partial curing, I must say, significantly improves durability. Slow seasoning, honestly, mattered more than any surface treatment. Medieval builders never rushed drying. Timber was stacked with airflow and left to season for years. Slow drying allowed fibres to settle naturally, closing pathways that draw water inward. Rapid modern drying creates internal stress and micro cracks that trap moisture later. A practical step today is to allow exterior wood to acclimate outdoors under cover for extended periods before use, even if it has been kiln-dried. Fire hardening sealed the surface without trapping moisture. Controlled charring was another medieval anti-rot technique. Light surface burning destroyed residual sugars, hardened the exterior, and reduced water absorption while preserving flexibility beneath. Unlike modern sealants, charred wood could still, breathe. Rain shed quickly, and drying began immediately after storms. Medieval barns and fence posts treated this way often lasted generations. Today, careful surface charring followed by brushing off loose carbon recreates this effect. The key is, well, restraint. The goal is surface modification, not deep burning. Natural oils worked only because the wood was already stable. Medieval oils and tars were never used on green wood. They were applied after curing, seasoning, and sometimes charring. Oil, you see, slowed moisture movement without sealing it completely. Pine tar animal fats and plant oils, well, they penetrated stable fibres and protected end grain, which is actually the most vulnerable entry point for water. Applied too early, oil traps moisture and unfortunately accelerates rot. But applied correctly, it extends life dramatically. A modern application is oiling only fully seasoned wood and focusing on joints and cut ends rather than coating every surface. Design decisions, in the end, completed the anti-rot system. Medieval houses did not fight water, they guided it. Timber sat on stone foundations, never buried in soil. Roofs, well, they extended far beyond walls. Airflow was constant. Joints were designed to shed water, not trap it. Walls dried quickly after rain. Even the best treated wood fails if moisture cannot escape. You can apply this immediately by, well, elevating posts, increasing ventilation, avoiding sealed joints outdoors, and allowing sunlight and wind access wherever possible. Why, you may wonder, does medieval wood outperform modern treated lumber? Well, modern treatments rely on chemicals that frankly degrade over time. But medieval methods, they actually altered the wood itself. Nutrients were removed, surfaces were hardened, and moisture movement was, respected. Decay organisms never really gained a foothold. This is exactly why medieval beams often rot only where modern repairs introduce sealed joints or perhaps untreated replacements. The lesson medieval houses still teach today is clear. Durability comes from preparation, not protection alone. Medieval builders, they accepted that wood would get wet and planned for it. Instead of merely reacting to rot symptoms, they eliminated its requirements altogether. Their houses still stand because their knowledge was, well, structural, biological, and patient. If you value methods proven by centuries of storms rather than decades of marketing, do consider subscribing to Thermal Vault. Share this guide with fellow history and survival enthusiasts, and help preserve the knowledge that allowed medieval houses to outlast empires.